Last week saw the Eagles make a surprising free agency signing. They're a cash-strapped team, and this is a player that many people expected to be snapped up after the first day or two of free agency on a much more saucy deal. Instead, Eric Wilson will reunite with Jonathan Gannon in Philadelphia on a prove-it contract, but what does that mean for the Eagles, and what does he bring to the table? My name is Liam Jenkins, and this is another episode of Eagles Film Room. Wilson will turn 27 when the new season starts, and of course he's entering the prime of his career as a result. But with that in mind, it's encouraging that he's coming off of a stellar campaign where he racked up 122 tackles, 3 interceptions, 8 passes defensed, and 9 quarterback hits. Wilson will likely act as a bridge linebacker while their future heir to the throne develops, or he might just make that position his own and earn a big payday. The Colts really cherish strong linebacker play, as evidenced by the rise of Darius Leonard, and it's not like Minnesota had slouches either. So why Eric Wilson, and what does he bring to the Eagles? Before we get into his play, let's look at how the roles will differ, because obviously the Eagles are changing defensive coordinators. Jonathan Gannon is the new man in town. No longer are we going to see Jim Schwartz, an assistant that doesn't value linebackers. Instead, Eric Wilson may be at the epicenter. And what that means is there's going to be a lot more blitzing, he's going to be a lot closer to the line of scrimmage at times, and he's also going to be trusted far more when it comes to making those defensive calls, with the secondary playing in zone coverage, often funneling plays inside to the safeties and the linebackers, as opposed to leaving the corners out there to just do whatever the corners do. We see an example of that here against the Texans. We can see Wilson and his fellow linebacker Eric Kendricks lined up at the line of scrimmage, and this is important because you give the illusion of what could be a 5-man rush. Are they blitzing here? Are they going to drop back into coverage? There's a lot for Deshaun Watson to think about. Now, both linebackers peel back immediately into coverage, one picking up the slot receiver, the other picking up the tight end. The big thing that does is buy time for the big boys up front. They've now got ISO matchups. They're not going to have help from that second player until right at the very end. Before anything else, the center and the guard have to examine both linebackers. Are they going to twist and come in? Are they going to move out? Or am I going to be stuck in a man matchup with them? That doesn't happen. So now they peel out. You've got a slot wide out that is now double covered. Deshaun Watson can't throw that way. He waits. Eric Wilson does get a bit stuck here. He does throw that way. Great timing throw by Watson. The ball does fall incomplete. It was a bit of a tricky throw to make, but it's just what that causes up front. The offensive line has more to worry about. That's only going to help what we see from the defensive line, a unit that has struggled in years past to really get home. They get all the cake, but they can't quite put the cherry on. I think having linebackers used like this will certainly help in that regard. We see a much better example of it here. Same sort of thing, only this time you'll notice that that defensive line of scrimmage is far more intimidating. We're going to see a safety. We're going to see 2 defensive ends crashing that left-hand side. You've got guys free for all blitzing here. The linebacker there, Eric Wilson, he's going to drop back into coverage. He's coming for that tight end, and in doing so, look where Watson's eyes are. He's looking over the middle. He wants that guy. Wilson turns around. Now he's got 3 routes in front of him just by peeling back off that blitz. Automatically, at this point, taking away all 3 routes by being a presence and essentially adding a sense of double coverage. Watson's got nowhere to go. The pressure gets home. The Eagles don't put linebackers at the line of scrimmage. The only time I can really remember it was against the Packers, and they started bringing Nigel Bradham down a little bit more. But outside of that, it was such a freak occurrence, and it became this headline of the game that Jim Schwartz was using his linebackers differently. This is a regularity in Zimmer's defense, and we should see much more of it. They trust Eric Wilson at the line to make his calls. Will he be needed on the pass rush? Will it be a 6-man front? Is he going to peel back and help take away routes? They're going to start off with his run defense, and it's certainly not the brightest aspect of his game, but that doesn't mean there aren't benefits to take. And the game against the Cowboys, for me, was one of the best examples I've seen of Eric Wilson playing against the run. He's going to line up here against Tony Pollard. His assignment here is going to be covering the B gap. What Pollard does is try to shake him off. The Cowboys run a concept where they want to try and push to that second level. It's a zonal scheme, drive everyone away, and open up, obviously, the gap between the tight end and the wide receiver. Now, what Eric Wilson does very well is keep light on his feet, see it early, and adjust to get into into the path of the running back. You see it much better from this viewpoint. So keep an eye here on Wilson's footwork above anything else. So here he's firmly in that gap. Pollard's going straight towards him. You see you've got a blocker and some tight end help all thrifting towards you. You've got to sift through that traffic. He's light on his feet, jumps outside, and is able to come down nicely and secure a tackle. It's a simple play, but it's the intellect. Those are the kind of mismatches teams want. As we know from Nate Gary's dreadful experience in a 1v1 situation where it's a 50-50, the running back could very easily come away with this. It doesn't happen here. Wilson wraps up the tackle. Another example from that same game here, similar sort of situation. This time he is in traffic. He's still got a nice line of sight on Ezekiel Elliott. Again, light on his feet. He's able to use his arms to try and leverage outside of the block, move over to the other gap, get in his way, and make sure that that running back goes no further. Play isn't particularly sexy, but it does highlight what Wilson does well, which is scraping through traffic. Now, against the Texans, you can see the line of momentum, a design rushing play to try and essentially create a cutback lane here for number 31. That doesn't happen as Johnson runs straight into traffic. What Wilson does, though, again, is realize he's got a man in front of him. He's got someone trying to push him outside of that hole. What he does here is actually penetrate between the middle of those two blocks. You can see him angle himself to try and stop the bleeding, and he's the one that then wraps up the running back. So it's a good bit of awareness there. So not only is he able to scrape over the top of the line of scrimmage, he sees the hole, he sees where the running back's going, and is able to stop that freight train from behind and make sure he makes the play. For example, from that Dallas Cowboys game, we're going to see Schultz move up to Andrew Sendejo, the number 22. That's going to leave Eric Wilson essentially matched up there with number 66. That right guard who's going to try and come up and reach block, get to that second level. Wilson keeps an eye on Pollard, is able to leverage that block, make sure he doesn't get washed out of the play. That's the big thing. He disengages well. Now he's in the gap and can pursue down to Tony Pollard, who does do a nice job there of securing the rock. But nice tackle from Wilson after what is a bit of a tricky assignment trying to shed that block. And it's the one weakness I've found. His block shedding isn't typically one of the greatest aspects of his game. But going back to my previous point, I think that's why I get so wound up with the block shedding, because he can do it really well. The Texans are going to pull their right guard here and attempt to create another running lane for Johnson. Now, Eric Wilson coming off the edge does not get suckered in by all of that movement. He waits for the block to come crashing into him, sets up well, meets him head on quite literally, and then again is able to disengage, line up to tackle Johnson and bring him down. It's a tricky thing to do here for Eric Wilson. There must be a bit of lapse of concentration on this play. So as the same offensive line will push to the right, we're going to see Kendricks take the C gap, and obviously that's going to leave Wilson with the B gap. And instead, what we see is he gets a little bit hesitant. He gets caught by that motioning wide receiver, ends up stuck behind a block, and that is just open season all day for Alvin Kamara, who just takes that all the way to the house. And it's a slight little lapse. You don't see it too often, but again, this isn't his greatest strength, run defense. I mean, and that's where I think guys Alex Singleton are going to be much more profound in this area. You're not getting Eric Wilson for his run defense. You're getting him for stuff like this. So here we go. The Saints up 14-7, about to try and make it 21-7, 3rd and 6 in the second quarter, and Eric Wilson is going to be lined up here in man coverage on Alvin Kamara. And what we see from Drew Brees and the Saints is a little wheel route. We're going to see Alvin Kamara try and bleed to that back corner of the end zone, and Eric Wilson has got the speed to keep up with the running back. He stays light, he's able to turn and go with him, does lose a step, it opens the door for Kamara, but around the ball, Wilson is just a brilliant playmaker. Doesn't need to turn his head, he can see what Alvin Kamara is doing. He's not playing the ball, he's playing the receiver, and that's honestly where a lot of that ball production comes from, because the second you turn around here and try and adjust, if you're a step too slow and you misjudge it, it is again a wide open touchdown for Alvin Kamara. So what we see from Wilson is just a real effort to play the receiver instead, or in this case, the running back. And if we see it from this view, Brees floats one over the top to what he thinks should be a wide open Kamara, and he just gets his hands into that window, makes sure the ball's going to be interfered with, knocks it loose, and comes down with Kamara. It's a great play. It's not the same time he's shown that exact same level of speed and instinct on a wheel route either. The Saints try something very, very similar here, and again, it's Eric Wilson that comes out to meet him. He's able to turn and go. There's much more space this time. The ball is not thrown in his direction, but that's because Wilson is able to close over the top so well. If you look at that running lane, he's not running to the running back, which is a mistake, unfortunately, we saw the Eagles make a lot of times last year. He's not sprinting towards the ball carrier. He's seeing where that momentum's taken. He's turning upfield, and he's ready to meet him there at the point in which he'd be turning back and looking for a pass. It's just, again, It's just nice awareness from Wilson to just see where Kamara's running and turn upfield to run with him as opposed to run to him. It's a subtlety to this game that will make him such a great weapon on pass defense, but the fun doesn't stop there, because what we then see is he turn back around, look for the ball, realize that a completion has been made, turn upfield, sprint straight to him and bring him down. Not his assignment, gets the job done, high motor, doesn't stop playing until the whistle. I like that. I like that level of hustle. It's impressive to see that Wilson finishes his assignment, immediately turns and looks upfield and keeps those legs going, gets back up there and makes a play for the team. We see a combination of all of what makes Eric Wilson so valuable here. We see that sideline to sideline speed, we see that instinct and the ability to read the game at a rapid rate. The Saints are going to really try and confuse Wilson here. They're going to bring two routes, crossing directions. He's going to have to choose which one to put all of his chips on here. The end goal being that if he bites, you've got a running back coming up and in the opposite direction. So Wilson stays really disciplined. You've got two players, each swarming over each other, two tight ends. He sifts through well, starts covering one lane, watches the eyes of the quarterback, then starts moving back the other. And at this point, yes, he might be a step behind, but he's able to close in nicely and stop what would be a probable touchdown. And if you see it from this view, it just makes it that much more impressive. You can see him pass off that route to his colleague over the middle, adjust, get his eyes downfield on the quarterback, and then start turning up and make sure that the running back doesn't reach the end zone. This wasn't a game-breaking play. It's not the most impressive thing you'll ever see, but it's just the ability to sift through traffic. So you've got three routes from a bunch there. Taysom Hill's one of them. You've got to sift through in zone coverage, know your teammates are taking whatever goes that opposite direction. You've got a cornerback who's being pushed downfield because of those deeper routes. It's all on him, and Wilson makes a really nice play here to just stay with the running back and push him out of bounds. It's another good example of Wilson's sideline to sideline speed here, again down in the red zone against the New Orleans Saints, and all we're going to see is him just pick up that runner out of the flat and make sure the pass goes nowhere and stays short of the end zone. It's a simple play and premise, but watch that same trait where his eyes are on the quarterback, his legs are turning upfield, he's already rotating his hips and driving upfield. He's able to then close and make sure it becomes a foot race to the end zone, and one that he's not really going to lose without securing the ball carrier. It's the sort of stuff in pass coverage in these situations that will force a 4th and 2 or a 4th and 1 down at the goal line and would allow that Eagles defensive line to do what it does best. I think for the most part, Wilson just does a fantastic job of understanding the game. Take this play, for example. The Cowboys are going to try and run a little slant route, and already by the time this ball is thrown, Wilson has seen it. He's come off his assignment, has seen the pass being thrown, and is closing on the receiver and is able to stop Amari Cooper for a very minimal gain. But to me, it's just that awareness. Look at the eyes. He's on Dalton, and at that point, he's already moving. And the idea here is that that tight end is going to block his vision. He's not going to be able to react, and there's a running lane over the middle. Wilson just sees this coming. He's able to see the direction Dalton's thrown and react. He's not going to stay on his assignment if the ball's not going there. He peels off quickly, and at full speed, it is just such a quick reaction. He's straight there. And the Eagles are going to be getting a linebacker who just loves to hit. He's a firm tackler, and while he may not be as polished against the run, again, that's not why they've brought him on. You can see the prowess in pass coverage, and it's an element of security over the middle that they really haven't had in quite some time. And even if it's just for a year, and Eric Wilson brings everything Jonathan Gannon is going to demand to the table. He has got range, he's got instincts when he's defending the pass, he can decipher the run very quickly in terms of being able to read what's going on. The only thing that worries me is just when he gets washed out of play sometimes by opposing linemen. But if that is the only concern we have for an Eagles linebacker, then we are living in a dreamland. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. From myself, Liam Jenkins, I'll see you soon.